welcome to this event this afternoon. We're going to be taking you through the new Economic Inactivity Trailblazer programme and setting out how you can get involved over the next hour. But can we move on to the next slide, please? Just so you can sort of see what the agenda is for this afternoon. So I'm just going to start us off with a bit of an introduction to the Combined Authority, and then I'm going to hand over to Ruth Gall, who's going to provide you with an overview of the Trailblazer programme. And then Julie and Cherry are going to set out how you can get involved and how you can work with us to deliver on this important programme. So including the open calls process that we're going to be following and the timescales that we're working to as well. And then after the presentation, we'll then be able to take any questions that you might have. So please bear with us as we run through the slides. Hopefully, most of your questions will be answered as we go through the presentation, but we have got plenty of time at the end for questions and answers as well. And then just as a little bit of housekeeping, and obviously not too much when we're doing it as an online event, but if we can just ask for you to stay on mute during the presentation, just to minimise the background noise. And I'm sure obviously as people are joining, that'll start dying off as well. But yeah, that would be great. There's lots of us on the call, so if you can just make sure that you're on mute, that would be great for now as we go through the slides. And we are recording this session, and that's going to be shared with participants after the event, and it'll also be made available on our website. So absolutely anybody will be able to go on and view the recording after today's event. And also the camera use is optional. We'll leave it up to you to decide on whether you'd rather have your camera off or on. That's up to you. So that's our agenda for today. If we could move on to the next slide, please. Yeah, okay, so for those of you who don't know me, I am Lee Mills. I'm the Head of Skills and Inclusion here at the North East Combined Authority. And yeah, really looking forward to taking you through this programme today and working with you to mobilise this new programme. But I'm going to take you through the Combined Authority first. So the North East Combined Authority, we were established just over a year ago, and we are led by Mayor McGuinness and a cabinet, which is made up of the mayor and leaders from each of our 7 constituent local authorities, plus a business representative and a voluntary and community sector representative as well. Our devolution deal covers the areas of County Durham, Gateshead, Newcastle, North Tyneside, Northumberland, South Tyneside and Sunderland. And really the purpose of devolution is to provide local people with more control over the things that matter to them most. And our devolution deal is providing the North East region with funding and decision-making powers across transport, skills, housing, support for business and creating jobs. And also a significant role of the Combined Authority is as a convener, and we work really closely with a range of stakeholders, partners, organisations and individuals to shape the priorities for the North East. Next slide, please. So the North East, it's got a large and diverse economy with many strengths, including a diverse geography. So we've got 3 cities, many vibrant towns, and we've got extensive rural and coastal communities. We've got 4 universities and 9 further education colleges, all offering excellent provision. And we've got a vibrant VCSE sector, which employs over 30,000 people. We've also got significant world-class assets, and some of those have been summarised on this slide. And we've got over 54,000 businesses who are choosing to operate within and from the North East. We've absolutely got a lot to be proud of, and we've got a great platform to build on, but too many of our residents and businesses are being held back by an economy that's punching below its weight in terms of skills and productivity. Our region has got some of the highest rates of economic inactivity and youth unemployment in the UK, and economic inactivity due to health conditions and disabilities has risen sharply in recent years, and too many of our residents are working in low-paid, insecure jobs. Next slide, please. So to respond to these challenges and opportunities, the North East Combined Authority is working to these 5 key missions: to increase opportunity, to create more well-paid employment, to improve transport connections. We want to build a greener North East, and we'll need to reduce child poverty. And our missions here inform everything that we do at the Combined Authority and are threaded through all of our key priorities. Next slide, please. Thank you. So we have recently published our interim local growth plan, which sets out our key economic priorities for the region, illustrating how we will grow our economy, how we'll support our businesses and improve the living standards of people across the region to deliver on those missions. And the local growth plan, the interim local growth plan, is available on our website if you'd like to take a look at that as well. We've been doing some consultation exercises, consultation meetings over the last few weeks. But yeah, the interim plan is available on the website with more detail there. Next slide, please. And we're also in the process of developing our employment and skills strategy, which is our new deal for North East workers. And this new deal for North East workers is really going to be a key enabler to achieve the ambitions that are going to be set out in the local growth plan. And we are intending for it to be endorsed by our cabinet next month. And it really sets out a positive call to action to all organisations and employers to share, to join a shared regional endeavour to deliver the employment and skills improvements that our residents, businesses and economy need to thrive. We do really need to shift the dial, and we need an integrated and innovative regional employment and skills system to deliver better outcomes for our residents. And then the new deal for North East workers, it has been co-designed with the region, and it really sets out that clear vision and approach to supporting more people into and within good jobs. Next slide, please. Okay, so I'm now going to hand you over to Ruth Gall, who's going to provide you with an overview of the Economic Inactivity Trailblazer programme. Thanks. Thanks, Ruth.
Yes, Lee, can I have a thumbs up from Lee? Yeah, okay, great. Yeah, thank you. Lee, for those who don't know me, I'm Ruth Gall. I'm the Principal Programme Manager within the North East Combined Authority, and I lead on all the policy issues such as work and health. So this is very much sort of within that remit. Lee's given you an overview of the sort of regional context in relation to the North East Combined Authority. I thought I would start off by just reminding you all of the national policy context of which the Trailblazer sits quite nicely. So obviously Lee's mentioned about the North East region having a significant problem in relation to economic inactivity. That is across the country, actually. With the inactivity rate across the country is 21.9%. And we've got just under 3 million people out of work due to long-term illness. So last November, DWP launched the Get Britain Working White Paper, which sets out the government's approach to tackling economic inactivity and investing £240 million to trial new ways to get people back into work. So the government did announce setting aside £125 million to mobilise 8 trailblazers across England and Wales. The focus of these trailblazers is to bring together and streamline health, employment and skills services to improve the support for people available. 3 of these areas or integrated care systems will be funded through the NHS Growth and Accelerators. And again, what we've got across our region is we've got the North East and North Cumbria leading on the Health and Growth Accelerator, and we've got the North East Combined Authority leading on the Economic Inactivity Trailblazer. We're very much working across the system with our health colleagues in relation to this new investment. The government also did establish 8 youth guarantee trailblazer areas. Our colleagues in Tees Valley Combined Authority are leading on a youth guarantee trailblazer. We're going to focus on economic inactivity today, though. Next slide, Paul, please. So as I've said, the North East Economic Inactivity Trailblazer brings together health, employment and skills services to support those who are economically inactive due to ill health and help them to return to work. It is important that we pull out that help them into work. The Trailblazer is very much about working with people out of work to help that journey to get them into work. Other areas are doing it slightly different. The focus of our Trailblazer is to test new and innovative approaches. We will be receiving, or we are receiving, an envelope of £10 million to invest in this new activity, but at the minute this is only confirmed for 1 year, 25-26, and we're into June now, so we're moving very much at pace in relation to this programme. The funding will pass from DWP to the North East Combined Authority via a ring-fenced grant. And I've already mentioned on the previous slide, we are one of 8 Trailblazers across the country to be delivering this programme, but only one of 3 combined authorities to deliver an integrated programme with our health colleagues. Next slide, Paul, please. So the key objectives. So how DWP have introduced Trailblazers in a slightly different manner and way to any of their previous programmes. Very little guidance was produced for the combined authorities who were identified as a Trailblazer, but we did receive some key objectives from DWP. The first objective is to maximise the reach, effectiveness and impact of services that could support people who are economically inactive, allowing them to move nearer to the job market. The second objective was very much about testing new and innovative approaches, identifying and engaging with those individuals who are economically inactive and supporting them to participate in the labour market. And the third objective was very much to provide a platform for longer term system reforms. And that's very much about how we move across the system to integrate and join up the services that are all working so hard to tackle economic inactivity across the region. Next slide, please. So whilst they were the key objectives, from those key objectives, we produced 3 priorities. And I'll quickly run through the priorities. We did develop this work very closely with our local authorities, with our politicians, and the 3 priorities are the focus of the sort of investment into this programme. So the first priority is to deliver and develop better pathways into employment. So it's about developing approaches to provide an enabling environment and resources to bring together and coordinate and maximise service provision out there. And what we're looking at is that coherence. We're looking at the impact of existing services in relation to interventions. The second priority is very much about new ways of working. So we do want to use this investment in new employment provision, addressing identified needs, to move residents into employment, education or training or closer to the labour market. And this priority aims to stimulate innovation and explore new models which provide learning and the opportunity for future possible scale-up of activity across the North East region. And then the third priority is about system reform. So this is a key agenda for the North East Combined Authority. We have a programme of activity in relation to public service reform. This priority is very much supporting that programme of activity. We want to see a more integrated approach to health and employment. And then in relation to this activity, we want to break down the barriers and redesign processes to create best-in-class services for residents across employment, skills and health. Next slide, Paul, please. So now I'm going to hand over to Julie Gwilym, Programme Manager for the Economic Inactivity Trailblazer, and our colleague Cherry from Fuel Research, who has been helping develop the programme with us. Thanks. Julie?
Next slide, please, Paul. Thank you. Yes, my name is Julie Gwilym and I'm the Programme Manager for the Economic Inactivity Trailblazer. It's a bit of a double act between me and Cherry on the next few slides. We'll go through priority 2 and the new ways of working, and then Cherry will give some specific detail on the open call process and our plans for that particular priority. As Lee and Ruth described, the Trailblazer delivery plan is being aligned to the draft growth plan, the New Deal for North East workers, along with the vision within the Mayor's Manifesto. The Trailblazer does have those 3 priorities, and today's presentation is only focused on priority 2, the new ways of working. We've drawn evidence from the North East Evidence Hub, and priority 2 is built on robust and up-to-date data, ensuring targeted and effective interventions. We've ring-fenced £6 million worth of investment from the £10 million total for this particular priority area. And the focus is on creating new and innovative employment provision while addressing identified needs in this region. We've got some key objectives. One is around that new employment provision, developing innovative approaches to support job seekers and create more accessible employment opportunities. We want to address identified needs, ensuring intervention aligned with our regional labour market challenges and evolving needs of our workers. We want to move our residents into employment, education or training or closer to the labour market and move them into more sustainable employment and training. We're looking for innovative and new models. We want to stimulate fresh approaches to employment and workforce development and skills growth while exploring scalable solutions for our future. We're generating the evidence and learning. We want to capture best practice and insights to inform future policy, ensuring continuous improvement and adaptation to any of our models that we trial. We're designing interventions that can be expanded regionally and nationally, multiplying the impact of successful initiatives. The Trailblazer delivery plan aims to maximise impact through data-driven strategies, innovative thinking and collaborative efforts across sectors. By embedding flexibility and scalability, these new ways of working will help shape the future of employment and economic growth in the North East. I'll now hand over to Cherry, who will work through the process and the interventions that we've got in Priority 2. Thank you, Cherry.
Great, thanks, Julie. Could I go on to the next slide, please? Okay, so now we're getting on to the exciting bit. So within Priority 2, Julie mentioned there is £6 million allocated and it's to be spent within the current financial year. We've got this broken down into 6 strands of activity. So support placements for young people, support placements for neurodiverse residents, support to individuals with disability and in primary care, support for social housing tenants, support for women and support for employers. So that's the 6 strands and it shows there the indicative allocations for each of the strands, just to stress that it is indicative, but that's to give a broad overview to help you structure your plans for the proposals. And I'm just going to move on to the next slide and go into each of these in a little bit more detail. So the first call for projects, what we've done is broken them down into 3 calls for projects, which will come over the next couple of weeks. So the first one will launch today and will close on the 20th of June. There's 2 strands here, so young people and neurodiverse residents. What we really want to do here is test out what opportunities work best around placements. So there will be the opportunity within these 2 strands for subsidised work placements, and there will be opportunities also for not subsidised work placements. So that could be virtual placements, it could be job shadowing, it could be site visits, short work tasters, or it could be subsidised and supported work placements. And in the specification documents, we give an outline of what we think this could look like, but we also ask potential providers for their ideas around what they think could work. And what we really want for these 2 strands of activity is to start to develop an evidence base in the North East around what works for young people, to move them closer to the labour market by giving them some work-based experience, and the same for the next round, what works for neurodiverse people to help them move towards the labour market. And at the same time, we're also interested to know which ones of these opportunities work best for employers, what works for different employers in different sectors if they are willing to offer a placement, what sort of placement works best. And if that then turns into a permanent position for somebody, what sort of subsidy works best to incentivise that. So that's call 1, which launches today, closes on the 20th of June. on the next slide, I've got a little bit of detail about call 2. So this is, the first one is priority 2.3, support for individuals with disability. So what we're interested in here is working with people who have a physical or a mental health condition, or potentially some combination of physical and mental health conditions. And we're really interested in testing different approaches to delivering integrated models by integrating employability, health and wellbeing support. So that might be embedding health professionals within employment support teams, or embedding employment support teams within a healthcare setting. It could include things around wellbeing or condition management. It could include occupational health input to support with workplace adjustments. We know from the evidence base that the most common health conditions are musculoskeletal, typically lower back pain, or mental health conditions, often anxiety and depression. But we're also interested in testing out approaches which might be for another specific type of condition. In terms of social housing tenants, we are interested in projects that come forward that look at working with economically inactive social housing tenants who are not engaging with employment support, who are hidden from the system, and it's really hard to get them into employment support. So working through an integrated route with their landlords, they will be identified and brought into support. So really interested to trial new models and learn what works in that integration and delivery of services. And that one will launch next week, so 10th of June, and close on the 27th of June. And then moving on to call 3. So call 3 is support for women and support for employers. So support for women, this is a really exciting opportunity. We know that women are disproportionately represented in the labour market. We're really keen to test different approaches. This could be a project that is for a particular group of women, so it could be survivors of abuse or over 50s or returners after a career break. Really interested to hear your suggestions for this. And then support for employers. So we often think about employment support for participants, but we're also keen to understand employment support for employers. So this could be support around occupational health or HR support for smaller employers who don't have those support services in-house. So what do we need to do to support employers to help them employ people who are currently economically inactive? And we're particularly keen to see how that links into some of the target groups that we've mentioned in the previous strands of activity. And that one will launch later on in June and close in July. So on to the next slide. So this is the indicative minimum and maximum project sizes. So for each of the strands, you'll see here the indicative minimum, maximum, and the indicative number of projects. We need to mobilise quickly. We need to start delivery quickly. And we've put together this as a bit of a ballpark to help manage expectations for potential providers and ensure that this is deliverable for the team within the combined authority within the time frame that we have. So hopefully that's helpful to give a steer as to the sorts of sizes of projects that we're looking for. And then on to the next slide, please. And this is the start dates for delivery. So we acknowledge that this is challenging. Mobilisation is required immediately after the offer is confirmed, and the offers will be confirmed through July and August. That'll vary for each of the 3 calls for projects. And all projects must be completed by the 31st of March. Ruth and Lee mentioned that there might be the opportunity for scale up and there might be Trailblazer activity in years 2 and 3. That's not confirmed, so we need to respond to this opportunity with an end date of the 31st of March and hopefully that'll continue, and if it does, then the Combined Authority will put in place a process for that. But all delivery must absolutely be complete by the 31st of March. So it's a really hard deadline. That means that you must be able to mobilise quickly, and previous experience has shown that new recruitment of new staff takes time. Therefore, this might be seconding existing staff or looking at staffing and resourcing models that are different to a recruitment option. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so this is a highlight for each of the priority areas, the numbers of beneficiaries, and this is in total for the full value of the funds available in each of the priority areas. So you can see for 2.1, there is an expectation that 250 young people will be supported, and there is a budget of 950,000. Obviously, within priority 2.1 and priority 2.2, there is subsidised work placements. In the other strands, you will see, so in 2.3, people with disability, there is £500,000. We expect 100 people to be supported within that one. The output and outcome requirements are not onerous. It's getting a real balance between supporting people and also generating evidence and learning to inform future activity. Okay, next slide, please. Right, so next steps. So in terms of the next steps, we've got the dates here for launching. So we'll publish a briefing note and circulate the slides on the Combined Authority website today. Call 1, which is young people and neurodiverse residents, will also launch today. So that will be available on the Combined Authority website. That closes on the 20th of June. Call 2, which is for people with disability and social housing tenants, launches on the 10th of June and closes on the 27th of June. And then Call 3, which is support for women and employers, launches on the 20th of June, closes on the 14th of July. We've absolutely tried to give as much time as possible, but we really need to move quickly to make sure that we are able to mobilise and give time for delivery. Question and answers will be published on the website, so you just need to keep a look on the Combined Authority website. They'll be updated weekly, at least weekly, if possible, more frequently if there are questions. And then we've got some bullet points here with the assessments. So the assessments will take place using a panel. There is a guidance note. You can see the full assessment process, the questions, the waiting for the questions. So they will happen really quickly afterwards, and the application assessment process is all documented in the guidance note. And I think that is the last slide for me. I think we're on to questions now. I don't know, maybe it's worth just giving a very quick overview as to the application process. There is a template to complete where you produce a business case. There are 5 key questions in there that are assessed. So the 5 questions are a project description, a question around your understanding and experience for the particular area, a question on partnership working, there's a question on social value and your contribution to social value, and then the final question is around management, monitoring and mobilisation. So that's the 5 questions that are in the business case. There's obviously more questions than that, and output and expenditure details as well.